Good morning, Appalachian Trail community. So this ain't a night hike. This is a morning hike. It's actually, dawn is breaking over there. Looks like if I could get some elevation, might see some neat cloud colors. But anyhow, got up at 4:30ish this morning. Got to bed after being exhausted at about 7:30. So, heck, I had more than 8 hours of sleep. Usually I'm lucky if I get 7. So, I got up, took my time with my breakfast and coffee and breaking camp and trying to figure out how the heck to get out of there. So, the campsite I was at was across the river, and they've had so much water up here, the river swole up over the typical stepping stones. And so what that means is I had to find a log to get across. So eventually did that, got over, had a great little camping spot by myself down there by the river. And so now I'm hiking up out of the river valley and heading on to the truck. And right now I'm gaining elevation. Got to get above the dam, and I'm going to be going around Lynchburg Reservoir. So I'll get back to you when I got a little bit of light for you to see stuff. But I did want you to experience hiking on a trail at night if you never had. All right, get back to you in a bit. All right, so made it up on top. There's the Lynchburg Dam down there. Looks like the dam control house. The dam control house. That looks like the dam caretaker's house. It's got a damn boathouse down there. So, anyway, oh, it's got some nice damn redbuds around there. That's what it looks like, and the lake goes on up. I don't know if I'm gonna get down by the lake. That'd be neat to have the trail go down by the lake, but I don't know that it's going to. But anyway, morning has dawned. I love walking in the woods. Now right now you can't hear it, but the woods started waking up. Birds started chirping. That's my favorite part of the morning for hiking, is when the woods come alive. So maybe I'll walk in there where they are alive. Right here they're not. All right. Easy walking, a little uphill so far. Most of the day really is going to be on average uphill. I don't think I'm going to have any really long places that are uphill really bad. I think really it's only 4-mile section. It's uphill the whole way. So I go past Brown something shelter, and yeah, a couple campsites. But I'm told there's plenty of water, so I ditched about half my water so I didn't have to carry it. And really over 7 miles, I probably won't need much more than this 2/3 liter that I got on my shoulder. But I got another ½ liter just in case. Ooh, looks like we're switching back. Or no. Anyway, looks like we're just continuing. Oh, there's a better shot. Yeah, I wonder if that's the caretaker's house. He's got a little gazebo down there. It's got some lights up around it. Nice little cabin if it's not the caretaker's house. Better shot of the dam there. And the damn house. Pretty cool. And all this is the Lynchburg water supply. All right, back to daylight. So, concerning item number 3. So, Remington told me about that yesterday was opening day for turkey season. And you can hunt in national forest on for turkey. And people here use high-powered rifles. What the freak you're using a high-powered rifle to hunt a turkey for, I have no idea. But apparently they do. He was telling me about a story of a guy I knew that took a .243 round to the chest and dropped dead on the trail because some idiot turkey hunter didn't know the difference between a hiker and a turkey. Now, tell me, somebody's chest is about 4 feet plus off the ground. How the heck? And turkeys are 16 if they're a gobbler, maybe 18 off the ground to the top of their freaking head that has a comb on it and has a beak on it. Looks nothing like a human being. Their body's the size of a human being's head, but it's on the ground. So how the heck can you mistake a human being for a dadgum turkey? That's an idiot. Anyway, so I was back in the wilderness, wasn't worried about it because that's a long way off a road where turkey hunter's going to take the time to come in. But I just crossed over Forest Service Road and I'm coming up on 60 in about 3.8 miles. So this could be prime area for turkey hunters. I don't know. I haven't seen any turkeys. I hadn't seen their scratchings. So that don't mean they're not in here. Hadn't heard any shots going off either. So just got to keep your head on a swivel, I suppose. Didn't bring any orange. Although, hey, I didn't think about it. Ha! I'm wearing orange. So I've got my Hike for Mental Health shirt on. Awesome. Should be covered, right? Yeah. You get one of these guys out there, it don't matter. They get trigger happy. We used to call it buck fever. Now it'd be turkey fever. So there's a rock wall. This is Brown Mountain Creek. And rock walls, obviously human-made, are usually an old settlement. And it just so happened in the middle of nowhere is a kiosk that explains what this used to be. So there was a community here of freed slaves mainly, and they lived on Brown Mountain Creek. Obviously this was way back up in the middle of nowhere, but it talked about how life was simple and the food was nourishing. So I can just imagine they were farming and probably had cows, goats. The thing talked about ash cakes, which apparently was a cake that you made by covering it in coals and ashes, and then said his mama had a special broom, a corn broom, and she would sweep them off, and they were couldn't taste the ashes, and it was the sweetest thing you could imagine. And yeah, so just really neat part of history through here. Hope it stays. But somebody put a lot of effort into that rock wall. And typically they made those walls for fields, to clear the field of rock, and maybe even as a corral. But anyway, that's the thing about the Appalachian Trail, is you're walking through history in a lot of places, particularly Massachusetts. Walk through history there, a lot of history up north. Harper's Ferry, Maryland, Gettysburg area, obviously the Civil War. Pretty neat. Just I don't know if we'll see any of the houses or anything like that, or what's left of them, which would probably be nothing but a fireplace. Anyway, if I see something like that, I'll show it to you. But pretty idyllic little place to live, I suppose. A simple life away from the government, and you're just out here eking out a life, a subsistence. Didn't worry about money, mortgages, credit cards, none of that. All right, I don't know if this is it, but goodbye, Brown Mountain community. It did say the next 1.25 miles, I think, that on this trail walks through this former community. I wonder if the freed slaves that occupied it, they came up here to be sure they were still persecuted. So come up here to escape all that. I don't know, maybe I'll go home and research that. That's the first sign of a house, what was left of one I've seen. That was a pretty big one. I mean, they had 2 fireplaces. So they were probably the richest people on the creek. But yeah, the rest of it, all I've seen is rock walls, but pretty freaking impressive. Of course, you have to imagine a place with none of these big old trees were here. That was probably a field there with cows, and you know, you talk about thinking about growing stuff. You look where we are, we're right down in the middle of a holler, so it's hard to get, you know, crops to grow down here with the sun probably only shining 4 to 6 hours or less a day. But what an idyllic place to live on the creek. Yeah, people just scratching out a life. You always wonder what happened to them. I guess after a while they died off, and them kids went to the modern world, and probably so much poorer for it. Okay, so I got a little more information from another kiosk here in the wilderness. So Mr. Taft Hughes was a resident here, and he told the story to the National Park Service and about the community. So apparently they had a grist mill, which the grist mill is where you grind corn, and they raise corn, wheat, and tobacco. So tobacco's always been a cash crop. I'm sure they'd take it to town and sell it, as well as any surplus. But they had a grist mill here, and you take your corn and get it ground up into meal so that you could make cornbread out of it, and probably hominy grits. And the guy who owned the grist mill, Joe, would take 1/8 of whatever you brought in as payment for grinding it. And now, if you they were sharecroppers, so they're freed slaves, but they were sharecroppers, which means they didn't own the land. They had to pay to live here, and so they had a landlord, and their payment basically was, you know, it wasn't cash. Everything was on the barter system back then. So if you had your own team of mules, you would you would give 1/4 of whatever your take was to the landlord. And so 1/4 of your crops went to the landlord, which is, you know, now what you're supposed to do is 33% of your take home, or of your salary, should be spent on your home, your electricity, utilities, all that, mortgage, all that stuff. So they were actually at 25% ahead of the game. But if you did not have your own team of mules, and the landlord had to furnish them, then you would you'd have to give half to the landlord. So obviously a team was pretty valuable commodity around here. And they disbanded in 1920 when they sold their property here to the well, the property was sold to the National Forest Service. So since they were sharecroppers, it wasn't their property, it was their landlord's property. So he sold it and they had to get out. So I wonder where they went and how many there were. That's pretty neat though, that double chimney house. That was a good sized house for being out here hewed out of logs in the middle of nowhere. I'm about probably 1.75 miles out from 60 where I'm coming out. So don't know if that road was there or not back then. Probably. There's a town nearby, Buena Vista, and Lexington as well, but Buena Vista's right here at it. So I would imagine Buena Vista has been there for a long time. And it sounds like it was settled by you know, people of Latin American descent. Buena Vista means beautiful view. So anyway, probably chat one more time before we end this hike. All right, chat with you in a bit. One thing that was really cool about this hike was, look at that, I got a little waterfall over there. Seen a lot of those right now. One thing's really cool is meeting so many thru hikers. So I met Hollywood. He's a flip-flopper coming from Harper's Ferry number 11. And then I met Boob, as in Blueberry, yesterday. And he was camping in that area, but I didn't see him. So didn't get to say hey to him. Met him, met a really cool guy who's been retired forever. He's Iron Man. He's not thru hiking, but he's working on finishing his section hikes. And a lot of other section hikers, but always cool to meet everybody, and particularly subscribers. Met a few subscribers, viewers, what have you. And awesome to meet the thru hikers. All right, just past this gorgeous waterfall. I think I'm 0.7 out, and it's all uphill from here. So I thought I'd take my time, give a quick recap of the trip. So started at just past, just trail south of the Thunder Hill shelter, right where it crosses the Blue Ridge Parkway, where we ended, me and Come Along ended last time. We ended there because we planned to go further, but we actually planned to go all the way to the James River, but it was gonna be the next day was gonna be nothing but rain. So so started there and went all the way to 60. So that's roughly about 40 miles, 38.9, something like that. Went NOBO. This section is lot of hills. It is the Appalachian Trail after all, but I would say Bluff Mountain coming out of the James River was the toughest. That was 9 miles all up, like really up. And so the first day I did 13, which hadn't planned on 8, but 13 got me to the shelter. So I didn't want to, that section there wasn't a lot of water, even though we've had so much rain, because it was so high. A lot of it was just wasn't a lot of water points. So I'm not, the choice I could have taken is if there was a campsite, but one, we were in aggressive bear country. 2, and that section I think was actually closed to camping last year. And then 3, I just don't like toting water so far, and by the time I toted the water to the, you know, up a hill for 2 miles, it was just another mile to the shelter. So rather than toting 4 liters of water, I just went on to the shelter where there was a water source and was able to walk there without as much water on me, thus reducing weight. So that's the first day, 13. Second day was 17.8 from the Matt Creek shelter to the swinging bridge that crosses over the river. So there's some camp spots there that are about 1/10 or less off of the trail. So if you're going NOBO, turn left and you'll eventually see a turn off on the road. You'll pass the turn in for the Lynchburg Reservoir there for access to the dam. A lot of no trespassing signs up. Really nice little yard that could be camped in, but not without no trespassing signs. And that somebody's going up and down that road quite a bit. So camped there. Kind of sketchy because there were some locals that had taken up a good part of that campsite, and then there's about 5 other campsites right there at it. They were all taken up. People got there earlier than me because I hiked a 12, 14 hour day. So but across the creek was some good campsites. The only problem was getting across the creek with as much rain as they've had. There wasn't any rock hopping, so there was a big old log that had fallen, and it was sketchy because it was rotten and the bark was coming off. So anyway, crossed over on that, set up camp, and great little camp spot, and I was out pretty much. Didn't even have to make me any sleepy time tea. And I was out pretty much at 7:30ish. Still daylight. Woke myself up snoring a couple times even before it got dark. But got up this morning at 4:30 because I'd slept 8 hours the morning I get it home. So, and got on trail by probably 6. I took a little time, and then plus I was scouting out a better place to cross and couldn't find any, so I just went back the way I came. But still, it took some time to do that. It normally takes me an hour to get out of camp anyway. And came on in for the last 7 miles. So that is going to end up this hike. It's been a good hike, a lot more climbing than is typical, to be honest. Yesterday my feet were beat. My whole body was beat. My eyelashes hurt. But back in hiking form now. And as you see, I'm going up a pretty good grade. And I'm going to put this away in this hike. So got a bunch more this year. My goal is to get to the shanties. Maybe get into the shanties. Just depends. We'll see. And then I hadn't decided where I'm going to take my summer hike. So I'm open for suggestions. I've done Springer to right here. I've done Pennsylvania southern border to Black Bear Hostel. And I've done Massachusetts and Vermont. So anything other than those, give me a holler. All right, folks, that is it for this hike. Greatly appreciate you tuning in for another one of my hikes. And as always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.